Don't fall for the trap of retail therapy. On this episode, we're talking about the psychology of spending. All right, Jonah, let's get real for a sec. Have you ever slapped down that credit card after a rough day just to feel better? Have you done it?
I have done that before. It's a little retail therapy, I think they call it. So guilty is charged on that one there. But that's exactly what today's episode's all about, actually. It's the psychology behind our spending. Why in the world do we make those? What in the world was I thinking? Money moves, and how to hack our brains even to save more and to stress less.
I make money moves. Boom, that's right. We're breaking down the emotional triggers, societal pressures, and sneaky cognitive biases that trick us into overspending, plus simple strategies to break the cycle. No judgment, ladies and gentlemen. We listen and we don't judge, but we're going to help you up your financial game. Let's dive in. Okay, the psychology of spending. There are three different types of psychologies we're going to mention right here. Number one is emotional spending.
Yep.
Number two is social influence.
Yep.
And number three is cognitive biases, maybe the most interesting one that you don't think about as often. So, Jonah, let's dive into number one, emotional spending.
Let's do it. So let me give you a little bit of a background or a definition on this, right? So emotional spending, it's your response. Spending is your response to emotions. So these emotions generally are going to be stress and sadness or boredom. So purchasing items provides this temporary mood boost. It releases this dopamine. You get just neurotransmission that's associated with buying this new thing. It's associated with pleasure, associated with rewards. And the problem is that it's really a fleeting satisfaction. And it goes away very quickly. And it really often more so leads to financial strain and regret.
Well, here's what's interesting about me. I'm going to go ahead and take the moral high road over the top of all you listeners, and maybe you as well. I don't feel that I succumb to emotional spending all that often.
Oh, I definitely do.
Really?
Yeah, so I saw this chart recently that talked about your 5 love languages. Do you know what I'm talking about here?
Yeah.
The love languages. So if you're listening at home, you don't know what those are.
I know my primary and my secondary.
I also do. I also know my wife's primary and secondary.
Right.
I also know which ones are at the bottom for both of us, and that's helpful. I also know my kids because it's helpful. My son, I'm going off on a tangent.
Well, that's fine, because we're talking about psychology
what 5
here.
they are,
we're talking
then
about psychology.
Watch your child, and you're like, oh, my son's is physical touch, and it's terrible. I hate it.
Hold on. We listen and we don't judge.
Yeah. But I'm saying he's got it's a physical touch followed by quality time.
Now, here's the thing with children, though. Isn't there part of the theory of the psychology of spending, eating? Now, I've done emotional eating.
Okay, that's not my thing.
See, I've done emotional eating for sure. Hold on, but isn't part of they say that kids can morph and twist, though.
They're going to change.
Yeah, they change for kids until they're like 16. They're not even set in, though.
Right.
Every kid needs to be held.
But my son, he's 7. He's a boy.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be held. He'll come lay.
That's morning. What it is.
This morning, 6:45. No, he's in bed.
Yeah.
Just touching you. He doesn't need anything. He's just in bed touching you.
That's what I'm talking about.
No,
they need to be held. They need to be touched. That's
on
more
a Saturday, he'll go get his iPad or whatever. Yeah. Just come sit on you.
Yeah.
And not engage with you. I'm saying doesn't say hello, hi, what's up. Just wanted to spend some time. Just sit.
Let this man have some serotonin.
And I'm like, I have to tell him often, I'm so happy for you to sit by me, but you've got to get off of me. Like he'll sit on your arm. You know what I mean? Because they're little, they're kids.
For kids.
No.
Okay. So anyway, here's emotional spending. The question is whether or not you have succumbed to this in a negative way. Yep. The idea that it triggers you is not actually the problem.
Yeah.
It's the response to that trigger.
Let me go back to what I was saying. So I saw this post recently that talked about the 5 love languages. Those are quality time, physical touch, acts of service, gifts, and words of affirmation.
Yes.
And I saw that so the post specifically said, here are the love languages. Your toxic trait is the opposite of your love language.
Yeah, for sure.
So my love language is gifts, and my toxic trait is emotional spending. That's what happens. If I get bored,
that's good.
or
All right,
sad,
I need a link
or I
for that.
wake up in the middle of the night. If I wake up in the middle of the night and can't sleep, I've spent $200 before 6 a.m. Yeah, because that's what I had to go search my phone for the cool thing. It happens all the time.
I do not do this.
But here's the crazy part.
Drop a link. Hold on, we got to drop a link for the people on how to take this quiz or find this article for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely look for the article, and the quiz is easy to figure out your love language. We'll be able to send you a link on that one. But here's the crazy part about the fleeting satisfaction of that. Very often this happens. 2 days, 3 days later, the thing shows up that I do not want or need
Hold on.
anymore.
So on our last episode, ladies and gents, here at the Banking Bros and the Cash Compound Podcast, I gave you a quiz, and it was budget or fudge it. Yeah. And now I feel like I'm understanding. I'm going to go back and listen to this episode.
It's fine. But what I'm saying, but it happens often. It doesn't happen super often, but it happens often enough. Every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, it happens. But I'll use the thing for a day or two and send it back because I know I don't need it. For instance, I bought a grill. I think I mentioned this to you last weekend.
Sure.
The grill has not shown up because I messed up the delivery date. Thought it was last Friday. It's actually this Friday.
This is why you're so savvy
at
buying things online.
Already don't need it.
But hold on. You said that your grill was bad and you need a new grill.
Yeah.
So you do need it.
Sure, I don't want it is the thing. I bought the grill.
Everybody needs to eat.
No. I bought the grill because my wife said, we should get a new grill. The grill is bad. Let's grill something.
Yes.
Sounds great. Great idea for that weekend. Bought the grill. Thought it was going to show up last weekend. Planned on grilling Friday, Saturday. By this week, I don't need this grill. I'm not going to grill. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to get the grill. I'm going to use it once. I'm sending the grill back. I don't need this grill. I'm not going to use it.
Wow. Okay, let's move on because that one right there has a lot to unpack.
Anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you can't figure this out like Jonah, or you figure yourself out and you realize that you have problems like Jonah should figure out, go get therapy.
No. It's emotional spending. It's the psychology of spending. It's emotional spending.
All right, so
I've got that.
Social influences. This one is called AKA Keeping Up with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I also generally do not feel that I have this one.
I don't have this one as bad as I have emotional spending. I have it very, very little. So what social influences is like I have a problem. We talked about this on the last episode. If the new iPhone comes out and I use iPhones, I have a problem because I'm like, well, now I got to go look at all the features, and if it really can do something that mine can't do, I have a problem. Now if it's the camera just got better and that's it, I don't actually have a problem. I was not influenced enough by that.
Well, most people now I get influenced by you, our other partner Will. They people out there tell me what's cool, and I can immediately figure out whether or not I need it or don't want it.
Sure.
But that influence is big for me, but it does not break the budget.
Yeah. So social influences, a lot of times you can think of this like social media. It's got a lot of social influences. The reason for that is because social media is where you're going to see all the other people post their best selves.
Yes. Right.
People don't generally get on there and post the terrible day they had crying or whatever, right? They post.
No, well, you do. You block those people.
Sure, but they post the good thing that happened, the new car they got. They post the new camera. They post the new whatever. That's what they post, the new clothes, right? And so all of a sudden you're looking at all these people and you're going, oh my goodness, my stuff, my car, my clothes, my camera is not keeping up with the Joneses, right? And so you get a lot of social influences from social media, but that's actually one of the areas I actually don't have a problem with.
Yeah.
Social. It's like whatever.
Now, number 3, cognitive bias. That's the one that does mess me up. Okay, so we've got a definition here. Okay, mental accounting. It illustrates how individuals categorize and treat money differently based on subjective criteria, often leading to irrational financial decisions. For instance, someone might splurge using a tax refund while being frugal with regular income. Mm-hmm. That's my fault. That's my vice.
Okay, I got a sound for you.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
That is not mine.
Okay, yeah, that's the one for you. Had 2 out of the 3.
No, I had 1.5.
Okay, so that's the one for me. So how many of you out there fall into one of those 3 categories that you can recognize? Cognitive bias for me is where I realize that I won't spend $2 in the App Store, but I will spend $15 at the drive-thru.
Yeah. This one gets a lot of people,
Yeah.
and the way that I normally talk about this one, this cognitive bias, is the Starbucks example, right?
Okay.
You go to Starbucks and you're going to spend $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 on your drink of choice. I was going to say coffee, but man, Starbucks is serving whatever they want to serve these days. I don't know what they are because I don't go in there. But then if someone says, oh, you've got to spend $8, $9, $10, $12 on this book that I just read, that's so awesome, and you're sitting at the conference where you also paid $100 to get in the door, you don't buy it. You're like, woo, another 12. You know what I mean?
There you go.
But you're literally going to head to lunch and go for
Yes.
30.
Correct. That's
at
me.
lunch,
That's the one that I have. I realize that that's an issue for me. And what is interesting to me is how often that I've kept myself from nice and good things because of the number. And I think to myself, well, these shoes are $30, $40.
Yep.
But if you're going to keep the shoes for a year and they're comfortable or nice looking or they match, like I should spend 3 times as much on my comfort, on my pillow, on my office chair, because I sit in it all day. Like I should go for the nice one or the expensive one because that one has the lumbar I need at 41 years old.
It's funny that you mentioned like apps in the App Store. I had this realization maybe about a year ago that because I use iPhones. I've used them almost all of my adult career. I think I started with an iPhone 4.
Yep.
And whatever we're on right now. I don't know
what
is it 16 or something we're on right now?
Mm-hmm.
So I've basically had almost all of them. I mean, you skip 1 or 2 in the middle, right? But I've had almost all of them all the way up. And so since I started with this iPhone 4, I never spent money on apps in the App Store. I just never did that. I got my first phone, I'm 15, 16, 17. I didn't spend money. I didn't have money to spend, so I've never done it. And about a year ago, I realized this is so goofy because you can spend $1.99 or $2.99 and get the app. They literally used to have commercials. There's an app for that. You can get the app that does exactly what you were wanting it to do, exactly what you were wanting to do, paid for it. It's done. Like you just needed to give them $3. And about a year ago, I realized that. I dabbled in all these new apps that I really wanted to try. I found some cool ones. If you're interested in that, let me know. Leave a comment or something. I'll tell you what they are. But that was something that I realized. But that cognitive bias is something that I don't struggle with it. And I think one of the reasons I don't struggle with it is because I'm interested in this category of thinking. So very often I think through things. Very often I look at my budget. We talked about that in our last episode, making a budget. Very often I look at it and I go, I'd like to come up with another $500. And I realize that canceling Netflix for $12 doesn't get me there.
There you go.
It's not that one.
Right.
I actually should go look at how much we ate out and realized, in one weekend we spent $100 eating out because we did lunch on Friday, we did family dinner on Saturday, and we quickly went and got pizza Sunday night. And I go, that was $112 in 3 days. Go look at all the other weekends. Oh my goodness, that's the 500 right there. That's actually what I need to get a hold on,
right?
In order to get my $500 for next month. Not getting rid of Netflix and trying to slash my insurance by $8, getting rid of the towing. Like that's just not it.
Yeah.
And so I that's one of the reasons I think that I don't struggle with it because I'm just interested in that category of thinking.
People are different, and we should think about our thinking. That's one of the things that Nelson Nash said often when it came to financial matters. And we're always talking about becoming your own banker around here. So how you spend and why you spend, the psychology behind it, also plays into utilizing your thinking patterns well and understanding why you're the way you are or what has led you there.
Yep.
Most people don't think about their thinking very much. So we want to remind you that if you need a conversation around curbing your spending or understanding your psychological habits, let's have that conversation. We want to help you out. Every coach here at the Cash Compound is certified and walking and talking you through what they have done to make sure they pay themselves first, to keep the dollars inside their family, growing and cash flowing, no matter what they have a problem spending money on. So that's what we do. Click the link in the bio or find us at saveandspendsystem.com to start your conversation about how you can keep the dollars that you make.
So here are a couple of really common bad money habits. We've got 4 or 5 of them. I've actually want to add maybe to this list also. But the first one, we've talked about it just a little bit here, and that is impulse buying. People do it all the time. These are unplanned purchases without really considering the necessity of the item, the impact on your finances, what it's going to be 2 days later, 2 weeks later, 2 months later, impulse buying. So again, I mentioned earlier in the episode, I definitely have a predisposition to impulse buying. Although I've definitely curbed the dollar amount associated with impulse buying. I do not impulse buy.
Give yourself have you given yourself a reason to like, I'm allowed to? It makes me feel better. It does give me a dopamine hit, but I'm just not allowed to do it more than a certain amount of money.
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a budget that's accounted for that we've given to spouse, right?
Yeah.
About what you're allowed to buy generally and like how much you're allowed to spend.
Yeah.
And generally, I don't actually spend it often. Now, it's funny because
Use
I
it or
do
lose it.
spend it often, but then I don't end up keeping the items. So I end up at the end of the month, how much of the budget did you spend? Actually, this much on the items that I'm
That's girl math. So you're getting your hit, but you're returning the stuff. Like I use it for a weekend, return it.
That's not girl math. Yeah. My Amazon, order history has lots of returns. Lots.
I don't return things. That's why I don't buy them.
Lots.
I don't know how.
You can return them at Kohl's and Staples.
I don't know how to find the Kohl's and Staples.
Put them in the box. You walk in with the thing, hand it to them. Done. Returned.
Wow. Okay, so let's get into these common bad money habits, ladies and gents. Number 1, impulse buying. We talked about that one. Number 2, overusing credit cards. Number 3, neglecting the budget completely. And number 4, ignoring savings. Probably the one we talk about the most. Let's talk about credit cards here because I'm going to tell you, this is a confession.
Okay.
We listen and we don't judge, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, I got that
feeling about this.
Well, I do too right now because I'm not paying attention.
Okay.
Because, as you know, I got the new credit card.
Uh-oh.
And we fly American.
Trying to get the miles.
I'm trying to get the miles because I need to spend enough on it. That's not a normal habit for me. So I'm trying to make sure that I charge everything so I can go ahead and get my 50,000, 60,000 miles right now.
Okay.
How do you feel about that? Is that okay?
I think it's fine, but you've got to pay attention to the credit card because you got to pay it off, or else you're going to end up in the bottom of the barrel getting charged these interest rates.
Yeah, well, policy loans are going to have to save me.
So here's what I do for my credit cards for all those who are watching, because overusing credit cards is a very bad money habit. They charge you a significant amount of interest. You can get over your head very quickly. You can not make enough income to be able to pay off the credit card and keep everything else going. Now you're incurring the interest charges. This thing can build up. Credit cards are a gateway to very bad finances. So here's what I do. I use an iPhone. I talked about this earlier in the episode. There's an app on there called Reminders. I use that app. It's got a reminder that is set. It's recurring every single month. My credit card, the statement comes out on the 20th or whatever. The month ends on the 20th. So the one that I use for miles, because I like miles too. So on the 15th, I get my reminder every single month that says clear the balance. Balance got to go by the 15th. Therefore, I never get charged any interest. Now, I do have a confession. I got charged $1 and some change of interest last month, and I was kind of upset. And I didn't understand how they got me for $1 because I cleared the balance. So something in there I don't understand all the way, but that's my confession on my credit card.
Well, remember that $1. If you need $1, I got you. Come down to my office.
Appreciate you.
It's only $1. Remember what we were talking about. Okay, how about this one? Not budgeting at all.
Yeah, so we talked about this in our last podcast episode, right? Neglecting budgeting. So we talked about some of the things that you can do to budget. We recommended that you write them all down. That's important. When I say write them down, I was born in 92. I am a millennial, so when I say write them down, I actually mean put them on your phone. That's where I put them. It's in a spreadsheet on my phone, but everything there is listed. I am a person that plans for the future. I've got a spouse and some kids, so in my spreadsheet, everything's clickable. And so what that means, if I were to pass away and my wife jumps into the spreadsheet, she can click the button and it'll take her right to the electric company's website with the username and password that's saved in an app that we both have access to, so she could get to it if she needs to without trying that hard. That's important for me. But it's listed And so that way I know exactly what to expect this month. We talked about that in our last episode, right? I can tell you exactly how much it costs my family to live in 1 month of time. I know exactly what the number is. 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. I know what the number is because I've tracked the things. Things that are can fluctuate, like groceries. Inflation's happening up, down. The price of milk changes. That's tracked actually in a spreadsheet. That's how we do it in my family. And the reason we do that is because what you track expands, right? And budgeting is a very important piece. Where you spend your money is very important. We talked about that in that budgeting episode. So if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. But we talked about like zero-based budgeting and assigning every dollar to a situation. And so that's the way that I do the budgeting things in my family. So that way I do not neglect it. That is a bad money habit. I'm trying to do the opposite.
How long would you say that it takes you to monitor your budget week to week, month to month?
No, not long. 30 minutes. Well, it's because I've already set up the infrastructure.
Sure, yeah.
So 30 minutes maybe. We do it. We just meet once a week, me and my spouse, and we talk through and walk through everything. It's generally really fast because unless something has significantly changed, it's the same as it was last week. Right. So I'll give you an example. I mentioned the electric bill recently. So, hey, my electric bill. So it's I've got a combination. The company I use, it's electric, it's water, it's gas, sewer. I think it's all combined there. So I go into the electric bill. I get an email once a month that says your electric bill is ready to view. I click it. It shows me the dollar amount. I throw it in my spreadsheet. I do that once a month. It takes me 5 seconds, legitimately. Last month, I realized that the electric bill was higher than it normally is. Like, oh, it's starting with a new digit. That's interesting to me. So now I'm going to click on my link and I'm going to go to the website and I'm going to look around. Like, what in the world was it? I saw that on one of the days, it was like the 8th of the month, there was $100 of gas used between 7 and 8 a.m.
That's because you got that grill when you were sleepwalking.
What it said on the site.
Okay.
So I'm like 7 and 8. That doesn't make sense at all.
Right.
Go back and look at the calendar. That's a Tuesday.
That your son came in there with the iPad, sat on your arm.
I'm like, that's take kids to school hour.
Right.
That's eat breakfast at like hour. That's leave for work hour. Like, this is not tracking, right? So now I gotta, ask the wife, anything you like, was that? Did you turn on the fireplace? What in the world happened? No, I can't. I literally have no idea. So I did not pursue it further and call the company, but I just remember that happened. Like, that's, I'm not saying it's a deep level, but I'm saying that's as I could tell because I track
in 5 minutes.
So I could tell in 5 minutes,
boom.
This is not,
what's going on?
This is different.
Okay.
So anyway.
All right. The last one is ignoring savings completely. I want to talk about this one because we have a high priority here at the Cash Compound to make sure that your savings and your savings vehicle, where we actually pay money into to buy life insurance, is paramount. That's where money goes first. If you've heard the term pay yourself first, that's what we would do here. When we talk about savings, we talk about money that you can keep, that will be used in the future, but is not in an investment vehicle. When we talk about it's saved for an amount of time, I don't know what that is for you. It might be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. It might be 3 to 5 years. It might be 5 years and beyond, and that may depend on where you decide to put it. However, it has to happen because there will be times of emergency. That was one of our previous episodes, but also we need those dollars in a very efficient place where they are kept for our family and they are grown systematically without being locked up. They're actually liquid and available to be borrowed against while the compounding still happens. So if you are not familiar with the magical product, the ideal asset for the station to save your money, we want to have that conversation with you about participating life insurance policies where we keep our savings. But it's a very big line item in my budget, and I spend, save, keep thousands of dollars per month. I wish I knew it as well as Jonah did. You probably know, maybe even off the top of your head. But I'm thinking that I've got around, I think about 25% of my monthly income take home is currently going into savings right now. And that's probably super high for the average person.
Yep.
I don't know what you think your percentage is, but the average
person
out there listening to us is probably interested in the idea of upping theirs and keeping more money. in their family growing and cash flowing, but it's probably in the 5% or below range.
Right.
Mine's probably a quarter of it.
A lot of people invest more than they save.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do that. That's an interesting tactic. When you ask them about their financial goals, they generally spout things that they need savings for. And it's also interesting that they invest more than they save if that's what they're shooting for. But like Jeremiah mentioned 2 episodes ago, we talked through the savings vehicles. We talked through emergency funds. We talked through what we recommended. If you have not seen that episode, you should go back and watch it because it really is in depth and eye-opening about what we'd recommend. For instance, give you a little teaser. In that episode, we talked through your emergency fund,
right,
and we talked through figuring out what your deductibles are on your car and on your house and on anything else that you're carrying the insurance, and making your starter emergency fund actually the sum of those deductibles. Possibly looking into things like home warranties. I saw someone post on the social medias just this last week that they needed new air conditioning, and they had 2 options. They were quoted $9,000 from someone that they liked, actually, to replace the air conditioning. Pretty standard price for what they needed. And they were also quoted $1,800 because they had a warranty. And I'm going, well, $9,000 and $1,800, there's a humongous difference.
Yep.
And so if you know you carry the warranty, well, guess where my emergency fund can be? I can leave my emergency fund at the $1,800 mark, my savings there, and use the other money to go accomplish maybe some other goals because I know I've got that warranty, right? So anyway, if you are ignoring savings, let me tell you something. The price is wrong there. You've got to get your savings up. You've got to get your savings rate up. Jeremiah mentioned almost 25% of his monthly income. I think in the last year, 2024 specifically, I think over the year, I think I saved somewhere just under 50%, but I think it was like 45 or 45, 46, 47, 48, something like that. And all of my income that I made went into my savings vehicle, which Jeremiah just mentioned. We use whole life insurance as our savings vehicle, which is an interesting place if you have not heard that. But like he mentioned, just click the link in our bio if you want to talk through it, why we did that and how it's effective for us, how that money stays liquid so we can still use it. That's what's important to us. So,
all right, somebody who recently clicked that link in the bio. What's up? Our fan follow of the week. This week, for this podcast is Lucretia Bray. Found us on YouTube. We're normally shouting out on YouTube on the podcast.
Yep.
But remember, everybody, we out there on TikTok. We got you on IG, TT, FB, YT, and LinkedIn. Wherever you want to find us at the Cash Compound or the Banking Bros. And please do join our private group community on Facebook. It's called Infinite Bankers with an S at the end. We've got a couple of questions for you, and we'd love to get in a conversation with you on a one-on-one scale, maybe socially if that's best for you, so we can be in that community and in that group. Okay, Jonah, we are going to break some bad spending habits. Many people out there in this consumer-driven society, marketed to by like crazy, lots of depression because of these issues with our cognitive, the Joneses, as well as our personal psychological impulses, are not happy with what's going on. They know something's wrong. They need some practical steps on how to move forward, keep more of the money that they make, and stop giving away all the dollars that they earn. So
we've got top 5 answers on the board here. Strategies and way to break spending habits.
All right. Good answer. Good answer.
Give them one. Number 1, ways to break a bad spending habit.
Jonah, show me implement a waiting period.
Survey says, I don't have the ding.
Ding.
There he goes.
All right.
Implementing a waiting period is a big deal. I've heard lots of financial gurus talk about this one. And basically what they're saying is before you make a big purchase or a non-essential purchase, just take time to think it through. So say, I really want that thing, but I'm not going to make the purchase for 24 hours.
So this is the one you need.
It's fine. I'm doing it. Well, you know what? Awareness is the first step.
It is.
So,
the first step is not awareness. It's admitting you have a problem.
Oh, I did that.
Oh, okay.
So I'm already on step 2. Here we go.
All right.
But implementing a waiting period is something that's big. People talk about it all the time.
So here's one thing that I've done before is you go into a store because retail will get you. I go in there for...
Retail does not get me. I do not like retail.
Well, if I'm in there, I don't go often.
Okay.
But when I do, I'm like, I'm only going to come in Walmart once a quarter.
Yep.
Might as well get it all. So that's what I do.
Oh,
because
no.
nowadays when I go into Targets or Walmarts, which is not that often, I'm like, sheesh, this is overwhelming. And these fluorescent lights, it is bright in here. It's like the airport. Right. And why is that lady in pajamas? Anyway, so this is what I do. Find something that you like. Take a picture of it. I've implemented this with the kids.
Okay.
You're allowed to take a picture of something that you want every time you're in the store, one thing.
Okay.
Because these kids go nuts.
Yep.
And then we will think on it, sleep on it, pray on it, and maybe if we remember and it's still there next time we go, we're like, oh, yeah, we did like that. Let's go ahead and get it this time.
I got you.
So here's one thing that might help you in your waiting period. Take a picture. Take a picture of the thing.
Yep.
Really think about it. Or look it up on Amazon and see if it's cheaper later.
So that's one of the reasons I don't like retail. I don't know. I don't have any bearing on the price point.
Well, just take a picture.
I don't
go home.
So
and look.
I don't buy stuff in the store.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Okay.
You
Number
could be
2.
trying to get me.
All right. Show me set clear financial goals.
Yes. I don't have a
I was
bell.
waiting
I
for
don't
something.
have a
You were
bell
reaching
ready.
for stuff over
Yeah,
here in our
I
studio.
don't have a bell ready.
I was like,
I'll
okay.
get one for the next time.
Okay, set clear financial goals. Establish specific places you want to go. Success is the realization. No, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal or a worthwhile dream. So know where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's the journey, not the arrival or destination. So just set a path of what you really want tomorrow to be like, what you really want next week to be like, how you really want to feel in 1 year, and that will help you curb the enthusiasm when something pops up or the Jones say, hey, my lawnmower is it. You got to get you one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, number 3, I talked about it a lot in this episode and in our previous episode, but it's create a budget. But here's the key. It's create a realistic budget. Okay, so here's what I mean by that. I am not sitting here on this podcast, you're watching me on YouTube or listening to me in your car, and I am not telling you that you're not allowed to go out to eat or that all you should eat is rice and beans and rice. I get it if you want to apply that sort of strict behavior in order to accomplish your goal. I totally understand, but I'm saying, hey, if you are established here and you want to make sure that you are maintaining strong money habits, you want to make sure that you are increasing your savings, you want to make sure that you are using the vehicles that you like and have researched and you want to use, and you're following your guidance that you're getting from your professional or this or that person, then just set a realistic budget. You should not go out to the restaurant, have no idea what your budget looks like, spend $1,000 because they came over and said the special of the day is, and then you can't pay your electricity bill, or you got to transfer from the savings to the checking, right? There's a big comedian who talked about that, transferring from savings to the checking, then it's not savings. You might as well have just left it in the checking.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, I have a problem at restaurants. We've talked about that too, because me personally, once I sit down at the restaurant, I'm eating what I want.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm eating what I want every time.
Okay.
I'm having the ribeye.
Is that what you want?
Yes, I promise you.
Okay, some of them ribeyes get expensive at some of them restaurants.
I'm having the ribeye.
Okay.
So I got to be prepared for it.
Well,
Create
what
the
I'm
budget.
saying then is make your budget.
Yep.
Know that ribeyes cost whatever they cost, $50 to $100, I guess, depending on the restaurant you go to, right? And so budget for that. So then don't go sit at the restaurant every weekend if you're not budgeting $400 for the ribeyes.
There you go.
Right? That's how you do it. But I'm saying create a realistic budget. You've got to allocate funds for occasional indulgences, for enjoyment, without having financial guilt. Budget for it, right? Budget for it. If I know I've got $100 to spend on desserts, then when your kids say, can we go get ice cream? Then it's easy to say yes. You say, sure, let's go get the ice cream, right?
Right.
And you just go get it.
Let's go.
It's easy.
All right. Number 4, show me practice mindfulness. Okay, so here's one that is important that you have obviously started to do, and that's the reason we had this episode. Psychology of Success around your spending habits is figure out what the emotions play into when and why and where you buy things. If you don't want to smoke anymore, you can't hang out on the back porch with your buddies who have cigars.
Yep.
You just can't do it. So figure out what emotional triggers get you into that place. I've realized in my past that I've had emotional triggers that had to do with the day of the week, because when everybody's working for the weekend and you start to get off on Friday, you're like, I'm about to put my feet up. And I realized that's an emotional trigger just on what day it is and what time of day it is, right? Maybe I had an emotional trigger for years. We've talked about this in my original debt reduction journey. Back in 2007, as I was getting out of college, it was driving past Burger King. Emotional trigger. I could smell the croissant witch.
You roll your window up.
Sausage, egg, and cheese.
Roll it up. That's
and
crazy.
I realized what my emotional triggers were for some of these certain things. So, Jonah, give us one or two more of yours, or if you have not mentioned it, give us a new one, an emotional trigger you realize.
Well, so I've got lots of emotional triggers, I think, but the key here is our strategy is to practice mindfulness. So as of late, I've been really into using the settings on my devices. So one of the things that I actually instituted maybe 2 weeks ago now, so this is brand new for all those listening, is I've got, I think they call it screen time going on my phone. So actually between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m., none of my apps work. There's only like 3 apps that work. And actually that mindfulness, admittance, hey, listen, if I wake up in the middle of the night, generally I'm going to start scrolling. And by the end of scrolling, I've made purchases. That's what I do. So I don't scroll to see what everybody else is doing. That's not really my thing. Like I've got a couple apps that I scroll to see like what came out, like what's new, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So what I did is I went, well, I know I do that. So why don't I block the apps and I'll leave open my book apps and my reading apps and my journal apps, because I do enjoy that stuff too. I like, I've got a book right now I'm reading that's like a mystery, and I'm reading this one. I like the book. It's fun. But if I've got the choice between read the book or go see the new sneakers that came out, I'll probably go look at the new sneakers, right? And I'll probably convince myself these are going to make me run faster and jump higher. So I got to so that's something that I've done. Just be mindful about what's going on. I think being open and honest with yourself is really helpful. And a lot of things, this is something I mentioned the other day, like, what to do. It's just about having the discipline and willpower to do it. So anyway, that's a little bit of the mindfulness that I've been practicing. Just become more aware of the triggers, to engage in some preemptive things that are going to help me on my journey, right? And again, I'm not saying this because I've got this big impulsive spending problem. I really don't, but it is impulsive. And for me, that's not actually a quality that I'd like to have about my spending habits, impulsive. Like, it very often things show up and my wife knows it was impulsive. Like, there's no chance in the world we needed that. Right. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was like 3 nights ago. Sorry. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's funny.
So anyway.
Okay. And number 5, seek professional guidance. Ladies and gentlemen, some of y'all would rather be broken in debt than go to therapy. So at this point, you need the point at which you cannot take care of your family, cannot take care of your needs, right? We're talking about food and transportation, keeping a roof over your head, paying your bills on time. Some of y'all really need an episode like this. You might need help. Now, we can be a stopgap for those of you who realize that you just need some tools. But some of y'all need some real help out there, I assume. But the reason you're probably listening to this podcast is because you realize you're on a journey, and the next step is getting a coach. We'd love to help you through that, and we can do it absolutely for free. Get on our calendar.
That was the part that I was going to emphasize here. You might be listening to this episode or watching us on YouTube realizing, listen, I need to level up. And one of the easiest ways to level up is to get professional help. Get help from someone who's already done that, and they can walk you through exactly what they did in order to level up. They can walk you through exactly what they would avoid because it did not work for them. You can take their advice. And that's what we're here to do. So the two of us are authorized infinite banking practitioners. And what that means for you is that we have taken the tests, we passed, we studied, we got the certificate, we got the thing, right? We've got everything that we need to walk you through that infinite banking journey. If that's you and you want to talk about that, explore that a little more, talk about the ways that you're spending your money now, right? Maybe you're putting a bunch of money into investments and you want to be saving it, right? So, I'm going to put a bunch of money in my 401k and my IRA, but I'm realizing that when the emergency happens, I have no money. Okay, cool. That's because you're investing instead of savings. Maybe you want to adjust that a little bit. and save more than you invest so you have the money, right? I don't know what your situation might be, but the key here is a strategy, a way to break bad habits is actually to ask someone with better habits, good habits that you want to emulate, and ask them for help. And that's our fifth strategy there for breaking bad spending habits.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, retail therapy does not cure all ills. So in this episode, we want you to comment below on which psychological triggers get you emotionally ready to spend in a way that's not healthy for you. What's going on behind the question of, wait, which package got delivered on the porch today? What was the question behind that we should have asked ourselves at 3 a.m. on our phone? Or which person out there, even in our family, is causing us to think that we need to spend money to impress? We don't want to be doing that. So let's have a conversation with you anytime about how you can have success in your spending for the future.
You are now tuned to the banking bros. Said we couldn't make it, drink or settle, this the life we chose. Gave a lot of game, we never got a lot of things. Bow your head and say the prayer, we taught you how to be the bank.
We teach the save and spend system, and what you want to do first is save your money and spend someone else's. So if you want to have a conversation like that with us, please get on our calendar for a free cash consult and realize that the Cash Compound is out here for code cracking cash flow, and we're for you spending your money in the right way very soon. We'll catch you on another podcast.